Hi, my name is Rock Candy, and you can just call me Candy. And you've probably never heard of me. I've been doing YouTube for about a couple years, two, three, and mainly I do gaming and reviews, maybe a couple of reactions, but I don't consider myself to be professional in anything. That being said, I do feel like I needed to make this video to show that I am open to discussion. I have gotten compliments about my videos before, but rarely do I get to start an actual dialogue with commenters. So here goes. First off, I'd like to preface this with saying that I really respect the channel Just Stop. I've watched the channel for years, and I don't want you all to see this as some sort of call out or a roast video of some sorts. That's not what this is at all. While I disagree with a lot of the points that the Hazbin Hotel critique video had that Just Stop did, I am in no way trying to say that this show is a masterpiece or that Just Stop was mindlessly hating on the show. The show has problems, but I wanted to do a video showing why, or at least talking about why it didn't anger me as much, and I felt like some points were unjustified. So, don't go harassing me or anybody else because these are just my opinions and my reactions, and I'm not here to start drama. I'm only here to start discussion. So, let's start with the major complaint or the major critique that Just Stop brings up. The first thing is the rushed pacing and plot and characters and all of that stuff. I definitely felt this while watching the show the first time, especially in episodes 5 and 6. However, it didn't really affect my enjoyment of the show because one thing, and that one thing would be the background details. Now I know what you're thinking. Background details shouldn't be the main way of conveying a story and a character's arc, but it really works with what the show is trying to say message-wise. People have a tendency to love to make overall judgments about people in both fiction and real life. And the fact that people miss things like Serpentius being overly emotional when it comes to people enjoying his company or liking him, or even things like Angel Dust always bashfully smiling when people call him important or give him praise. See episode 5. Those missed details show that people watching the show would rather keep their opinions of the characters being bad people with no signs of growth, rather than paying attention to those details and acknowledging how the show actually does try to show mannerisms and behaviors that indicate what the characters are actually feeling. So, while it would have been nice to have these details more focused on, these details were things I caught on my first watch, and because of that, it made me feel like redemption was possible for them, and I felt more attached to the characters. And just because you don't see or notice something in a show doesn't mean it's non existent. And it's like when people say Gon's transformation in Hunter x Hunter came out of nowhere in the Chimera Ant arc, even though there was tons of subtle foreshadowing during that arc that mainly focused on background details and small moments of characters' behavior changing, specifically Gon's, of course. So, also, I highly doubt that the show is trying to say that the redeemable characters are aiming to be perfect people who never have moments of weakness or lapses in judgment. So, Angel having a drug stash or Penchus having his egg boys, those things really didn't strike me as completely derailing their potential for change and growth. Little moments that show the personalities of the characters, Like even Nifty and Alastor bonding over the guests, they're really short, but put in for a reason, I think. I know that this short number of episodes really screwed over the plot, but I feel like these kind of details were meant to directly challenge our way of thinking when it comes to how quickly someone can progress, and also how actually we tend to make very broad assumptions about people in terms of whether they are a quote unquote good or bad person. Or and I feel like it's just something where the message of the show that anyone can be redeemed with a little kindness and motivation from said person, I feel like it just fits. But moving on to the next point. Um, the next point is the characters Carmilla and Vaggie being nothing but plot devices, and that really rubbed me the wrong way. I felt like Carmilla was a perfect introduction to the idea of the exorcist being killable, and a great way to show how powerful the overlords can be and how cruel and distant they are to anyone outside their personal circle. And Camilla has a character. She has an actual character if you pay attention. She clearly values family and politeness, and correct me if I'm wrong, she's one of the characters that never curses or never swears. And it she focuses on being elegant and poised in situations, and the only time she drops that composure is when something really really deeply bothers her, like what happened with her killing the angel. And moving on to even smaller interactions with people like Zestiel and Alistor, it's clear that she respects her elders and she has no intention of messing with the status quo despite her sometimes blunt attitude. And she doesn't want to change things unless it's absolutely necessary, like for protecting her daughters. And moving on to Vaggie, I don't understand why Just Stop says why she's so bland. I mean, don't get me wrong, I do wish she got more focus in terms of seeing her in her downtime, but I really don't think she's bland, and I really don't think she's just a plot device. This is just like how, when people in the Owl House fandom said Amity was losing all her character because she started dating Luz. And yes, Vaggie loves and supports Charlie, but her lack of understanding herself comes from not seeing any self-worth. And this is shown actually through how she takes charge with disciplining the guests of the hotel, but immediately gets uncomfortable and nervous when she's put in more of a caring leadership role that's supposed to actually help people learn something. She immediately defaults to her military type attitude in doing so. She's really showing that her values are not really in herself, it's in her performance. And she then directly says it out loud later on in the episode to confirm it, but those behaviors leading up to it were definitely there. And it's definitely also something where, for instance, like in episode 7, not to mention the fact that it was right after a pretty emotional revelation, the thing is that she literally failed in trying to protect Charlie from making a deal with Alistor, and Charlie even takes a rude tone with her and asks, "Are you with us?" Questions Vaggie's loyalty. And because of this is actually detrimental to her character and to her motivations, because her love is not being reciprocated here, and if her love is not reciprocated by Charlie, she has nothing left but negative views of herself and everyone around her. Again, this is shown through how she really tries to only interact softly with Charlie. And because of that, also, there's the fact that the song Out for Love, I love that song too, but it's not to remind Vaggie that she loves her girlfriend. It's to use the only positive emotion she has as a reason to fight, not just out of anger or her own mistakes, or trying to blow off steam because of her own mistakes and how she feels like that's the only thing she's worth. Just fighting for others or protecting Charlie. The song literally is about, it's called Out for Love because she's not out to just do a mission. She's out to she's actually doing it because she cares. And she had every right in that moment to not remember that, actually, because she was distraught over what had just happened with Charlie. The revelation that she was, or the reveal that she was an angel, an exorcist angel, that would shake anybody up and make them question what they're really fighting for once Charlie had that bad reaction. It makes total sense to me, at least. But that's just my opinion there. And finally, I don't think the finale was anywhere near as bad as Just Stop made it out to be. It's something that makes an effort to show the characters not at each other's throats for once, even if it's last minute. And it's because the hotel is the only place where they've been welcomed. And even if they're not that attached to each other, think of the alternatives in this situation for why they would stick around to defend the hotel. I mean, Angel would probably be living with the scumbag with wings, Valentino. Penchus would probably be getting his ass beat on the streets, and even Husk and Nifty would probably be doing way worse jobs for Alastor than running a hotel. And I just think it was pretty obvious why they stuck around. Charlie was literally the only person that gave them a place to stay free of really doing anything other than trying to better themselves. And even then she was kind of lenient on it because she knew it was definitely something that was going to be a handful for them. So, also, I feel like even the critiques on showing, not telling, or, sorry, I said that wrong, telling instead of showing, I feel like those critiques were unwarranted in some situations because the show constantly gives examples on screen of Hell's population being in constant danger and oppression. And no, I'm not talking about the exterminations from heaven. Vox uses his mind control on his audience. Alastor was taking out overlords, and Lucifer is too depressed to defend or protect anything other than Charlie. And because of this, since Charlie is literally the only person who wants to protect sinners, it's shown through how awful things are in hell, not just through the comedy, but also through the fact that these guests at the hotel are there because of the fact that they wanted an easy way out, but they stayed there anyway because deep down inside they do enjoy getting the praise. They do like having a break from the outside streets that are on fire all the time. And despite the character's dialogue that Just Stop says is the only thing that is telling us how the characters feel, I thought it was very obvious that the characters actually didn't like their afterlife. I don't think they enjoy being in hell despite their choices in the living world. And looking at how the characters grow throughout the first season, I know it's implied that off screen they spent more time together, but even with what little we get in the episodes themselves, I feel like it was made very clear that these characters like Penchus, Husk, Angel, all of them were slowly getting to know each other, even if they didn't want to at first. And it was definitely something that I felt like could be inferred. And yes, the finale would have been even better if the characters did have more on-screen time to bond and to show that they're changing. But I got those from the small details that I mentioned before. And maybe the details are something that people just don't want to look for. But since I noticed them right away, it really enhanced the story for me. And honestly, even the dialogue problems of just stop saying that it's unnatural dialogue. It's really hard for me to see that because the characters themselves are terrible at communicating until they're at their breaking point. So yeah, they're gonna talk awkwardly or overly emotionally in situations because the only time they are actually being themselves is when they're extremely broken, and they're going to having to face their insecurities, having to face their weaknesses and acknowledge their problems. All of those things are building up throughout each episode, and it just seemed really obvious to me that these characters put on a front to seem aggressive and to get people off their backs, to say don't fuck with me. And the thing is that I don't think that that's a bad thing. I don't feel like that made me understand the character's lesson when they blatantly explain stuff. It more just felt like them finally discovering that about themselves and saying it out loud, meaning they have to face it head on, instead of just it being in the back of their mind saying, yeah, my afterlife is awful, but I'm just going to talk a big game in order not to show weakness. So, I mean, that's just my opinion. Characters that don't want to communicate are not going to communicate well, and that's going to show in their dialogue and how they interact with people. It just makes more sense to me because of the idea that these people are not used to being honest with themselves, let alone other people. So it made sense to me why the show would be full of telling instead of showing, because they're constantly hiding behind their vices and stuff. And it's just, but that's beyond the point. These were my genuine critiques because I just felt like maybe it was only part of the comedy for the video Just Stop did, but this first season of Hazbin Hotel did not piss me off anywhere near as much as it did with him, I guess. But again, these are just my thoughts, just my opinions. I want to have a discussion about this in the comments below. If you are interested in me doing more Hazbin Hotel videos, remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Smash the like button, all that stuff. And I'll be doing more posting of streams that I do on my Twitch channel, Rock Candy Be Twitchin'. And beyond that, I'm going to sign off for now. I hope I don't regret this video. Bye!